Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Tonight, another story you'll only see right here on CNN. CNN has learned that investigators now believe Russia tried to use Trump advisors to infiltrate the campaign. CNN Justice correspondent Pamela Brown broke the story today. She joins us now with details. Pamela?
Well, we've learned, Anderson, that the FBI has gathered intelligence last summer, actually, that suggested Russian operatives were trying to use Trump advisors, including Carter Page, to infiltrate the Trump campaign and have influence within the campaign. This is according to multiple U.S. officials we've spoken with. Now, Carter Page's critical speech of U.S. policy against Russia in July of 2016 at a prominent Moscow university is part of what raised concerns in the Bureau that he may have been compromised by Russian intelligence. But this new information we're learning adds to this emerging picture, Anderson, of how the Russians tried to influence the 2016 U.S. election, not only through email hacks and propaganda, sometimes referred to as fake news, but also by trying to infiltrate the Trump orbit. Now, the intelligence that was gathered last year led to this broader FBI investigation into the coordination of Trump's campaign associates and the Russians. But these officials we've been speaking with made it clear that they don't know whether Page or the other advisors were aware that the Russians may have been using them because of the way Russian spy services operate. Page, for one, could have unknowingly talked with Russian agents, Anderson.
So what's Carter Page saying about all this?
Well, we reached out to him today. He disputed the idea that he has ever collected intelligence for the Russians, saying that at times he actually helped the U.S. intelligence community. This is what he told us today. My assumption throughout the last 26 years I've been going there, Russia, has always been that any Russian person might share information with the Russian government, as I have similarly done with the CIA, the FBI, and other government agencies in the past. But Anderson, U.S. officials say this intelligence suggests Russia tried to try to influence the Trump campaign by using backdoor channels to communicating with people they believed were in the Trump orbit, people like Carter Page. But it's important to note here that within the Trump campaign, Carter Page was viewed as someone who had little or no influence. But as we reported before, he is one of several Trump advisors whom U.S. and European intelligence services detected in contact with Russian officials, Anderson.
So where do things stand now with the investigation?
Well, it's still ongoing, and the FBI, intelligence analysts, FBI investigators continue to analyze various strands of intelligence from human sources to electronic intercepts and financial records. And they have found suggestions of possible collusion between Trump campaign associates and Russian officials. But we're told at this stage there's not enough evidence to show or to prove that crimes were committed, according to our sources. And part of the problem here, Anderson, for investigators has been that they essentially lost the opportunity to conduct this investigation in secret after several leaks last year that revealed the FBI was looking at these people close to the Trump campaign. And after those reports were told, those people that the U.S. was monitoring then changed their behavior, and that made it more difficult for the FBI to monitor them. Anderson.
And Pamela, the only name right now that you've learned from that being believed is Carter Page, but you said there may have been other advisors.
Right. So our sources tell us that Carter Page was certainly a big concern starting last summer when he made that speech in Moscow, and the concern was that the Russians could be trying to cozy up to him and use him to infiltrate the campaign. We have previously reported, Anderson, that there were several communications with other Trump campaign advisors, including Paul Manafort and Michael Flynn. But we have not named this in the story as someone who, as people who the Russians were trying to use to infiltrate the campaign. But we have been told there were other advisors that Russians were trying to cultivate their relationships with in hopes of having influence within the Trump campaign, Anderson.
All right, Pamela, stay with us. I want to bring in the panel. I also want to quickly run down the timeline of Page's involvement that we know about in and with Russia. He first visits in 1991, then goes back in 2005, working several years for Merrill Lynch, including as an advisor on deals involving the energy giant Gazprom. Exactly what level he was at that is under some dispute. People who have actually worked there said he was not very high up in the organization and sort of quibble about how important he was in some of those deals. Several years later, he's a witness in the federal prosecution of an undercover Russian spy who allegedly tried to recruit him without Carter Page's knowledge. The spy had been reportedly recorded talking about Page calling him, quote, an idiot. By 2015, he's part of an FBI case against 3 other Russian spies, the Bureau concluding his dealings with Russia did not progress to them actually recruiting him. And then in 2016, while he was a Trump advisor, at least named a Trump advisor, Page took a trip to Moscow in July to give a speech that got the attention of the FBI. That also prompted the FBI to get a FISA warrant to monitor him. That same month, he met with the Russian ambassador at the RNC convention, which brings us to his time in the campaign and now in the spotlight.